So Norm, I mean, just, we'll start with the very basic question, the obvious question, which is, give us your reactions. If you can, give us your reaction to her passing. It came as obviously such a shock to all of us.
It definitely was a shock. The last time I saw her was a little over a year ago. She was a guest on my conversations with Norm at the Smith Center. She seemed to be in terrific health. I mean, I was just hit in the heart when I heard about it. She just loved being on stage, and she was such a natural and such a superstar. Great stories, incredible stories.
I'm curious. I know you did one of the last great in-depth interviews with her, and I'm curious. Do you know why she gravitated towards eventually and settled in Las Vegas? What was it about Las Vegas that she loved?
Todd, I think it was that she had family here, and I think that her daughter may have moved to L.A. because Mary left here. I ran into her a couple of years ago, and she said that she was living in Los Angeles, and I think that, but she was back here, living back here on a pretty semi-regular basis.
What do you? I mean, you've interviewed so many celebrities throughout your storied career. For you, what stood out about Mary Wilson?
Well, she was. I mean, there was no question that we had a star on stage. I mean, she was just. She was so natural. The stories that she had were incredible. She sort of liked toying with me a little bit, like I was asking too many personal questions. Like Tom Jones came up at one point, and she said she hesitated when I brought it up, and then I said, "Well, now, Mary, you told me that I could ask you anything," and she goes, "That doesn't mean I have to answer." She was fun. She had the crowd in her hands.
Yeah, and she certainly had her private moments too. I'm sure she wanted to keep private. One of the things that I learned about her that I was unaware, and perhaps you could speak to this, more eloquently than I ever could, but just how really, not only was she a pioneer, obviously for so many generation of black female singers and just black entertaining artists in general. But she was really an advocate sort of behind the closed doors about the rights for artists and the
That's
rights
right.
to get paid. She was kind of a groundbreaking pioneer in that regard.
And I remember that she talked about that. I can't remember the details about that, but no, you're absolutely right. She was the first thing one of the first impressions you get when Mary starts talking is that she is a strong person. She would be very good at that. I think that she went through a lot of things, with the Supremes and with Diana Ross, and I think she was a very strong-minded woman.
Yeah, and even to that point, when you look at before her passing, I believe it was maybe 3 days before her passing, she posted this video on social media, and she looked and she sounded great. And she sounded so strong.
Yeah, yeah. I guess my greatest memory is going to be that after our interview at the Smith Center, she asked me if I would give her a ride home. And I said, of course. And so we were like about halfway out there, and I heard her cell phone ping, and she said, "Oh, Tom called." And since I had brought up Tom Jones, I was pretty sure Tom was Tom Jones. And she said he wanted to know how the show went. And that confirmed even more to me that the long friendship they had from basically the mid '60s on, that friendship was still very close, and I was happy with that. I've read many stories about where she really fell in love with him, and she apologized during the show, saying that sometimes you fall fall in love with somebody that you shouldn't. And but she was very open and told some tremendous stories about meeting Queen Elizabeth and the royal family, and oh gosh. Oh, I mean, she grew up in the Detroit projects. You know, she didn't meet her real mother until she was 10 years old. Her mother had left her with her aunt and uncle, and she grew up thinking that was their mom and dad. And then the mother shows up when Mary is 10, and Mary's confused, and she's got a writing class, and she writes this paper and turns it in, and the teacher gives her an A+ because she just vented and she showed writing talent. He told her she should really keep developing as a writer because he thought she had some special talent. And she said that she kept a diary all these years, and she wrote 2 autobiographies. And she said, but I haven't done anything with the diary yet. And I said, are you going to? And she goes, no, no, no. So I imagine her daughter's going to have that diary.
Yeah, I do perhaps wonder if maybe at least part of it might be shared at some point later down the road. I mean, obviously, some of it I'm sure the daughter and the family would want to keep private, but I'm wondering if there might be things in there that maybe the public would like to know and hear about.
Well, that's one thing that she said, was that only I would know what she said. I wrote in code. There were things that I would know what it meant, but no one else would know what it meant.
And you talked about the fact that she was so a public person, but she very much had a private side that she wanted to keep private.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? She really stayed in show business to the very end. She was doing shows across the country, and her voice was still strong. What I really enjoyed was every so often during our interview, and we had a great crowd that day at the Smith Center, she would answer a question, and then she would go, that reminds me of such and such song. I mean, she would stand up and she kind of gave a little mini concert. She sang 3 or 4 songs, and really, the crowd really got their money's worth. I think it's probably the last extensive interview that she did, and it's on my website, norm.vegas, if anyone is interested in seeing it. It's more than an hour. It's got some terrific stuff.
Yeah, I was just watching it, getting prepared for this interview, and it's just a striking person who's going to be missed here. I'm curious, just to circle back real quick about the story with her family and her parents. So do you think that aspect in her life that led to such frustration and anger might have actually led to her songwriting career and her career as an entertainer?
What I remember her saying is that she got her musical interest as a result of her uncle, who had a great collection of R&B music. And she said, I would wake up singing. I would sing in the shower. I was, I knew all their songs. And she talked about the first time that she was on stage, I think that, and she came off the stage. She was such a natural at it. She felt so good. I remember her telling the crowd that day, I just felt complete for the first time in my life. Yeah. And that's how strong music was to her.
And that certainly showed for decades. That is something that, when you're in the public eye for as long as she was, that comes out quite clearly. And I always thought that, she came across here in interviews that I've seen her with Channel 13 and elsewhere. She had that ability to kind of reach out and grab the audience.
Yeah, she certainly did. One thing I remember is that, she was just so at ease. She had the audience laughing throughout. But I'm just going to really miss her. I regret that I didn't get to see her again. But we haven't seen a lot of people we love in the last year, so I understand that part.
Yeah, that was December of 2019. That was the last time you saw her?
Yep, December 1st, 2019.
Yeah. Well, Norma, I'll let you go. I'm again grateful for the time.